Pocket FM.
To unlock all the episodes, click the link in bio.
Trinity's discovery of her mother's diary exposes a life of secrets and fear, leaving her with burning questions. Who was her mother fleeing? What danger threatens Trinity? Where is Reese? Reese, struggling to connect with Trinity, receives a hopeful call from Noah. Trinity's mind flashes back to a confrontation with her grandfather at his estate, where he reveals the mysterious moonstone and a shocking truth. Her mother fled because of Trinity and what she is. Awakening a prisoner, Trinity grapples with her grandfather's words. What is she? Will Reese find her? Reese stood at the edge of the abandoned warehouse, the rusted metal a stark contrast against the pale moonlight. His wolf, usually a comforting presence, was a raging inferno within him, mirroring the turmoil in his heart. He'd followed Trinity's fading scent for hours, a torturous journey through the city's underbelly, the grimy back alleys, the forgotten roads, the desolate industrial parks. Each whiff of her scent, growing fainter with every step, was a knife twisting in his gut. Now the trail had led him here, to this desolate place on the outskirts of town. The warehouse loomed before him, a skeletal structure against the night sky. Its metal exterior was a patchwork of rust and decay, a testament to years of neglect. The windows, once perhaps offering a view into the bustling activity within, were now shattered and gaping like empty sockets in a skull. A single flickering streetlight cast long, distorted shadows across the cracked pavement, painting the scene in a palette of grays and blacks, adding to the sense of foreboding. Reese took a deep breath, trying to calm the storm within him. His enhanced senses, usually a blessing, were now a source of agony. The air was thick with the smells of oil, dust, and mildew, the familiar sense of abandonment. But beneath it all, a whisper, a trace. Trinity. It was faint, almost imperceptible, like a ghost of her presence. But it was enough to make his pulse hammer against his ribs, enough to ignite a spark of hope in the face of despair. She was here, he growled, the words barely audible, his fists clenching and unclenching at his sides. Not long ago. Noah, his beta and closest friend, stood beside him, his expression grim. He scanned the perimeter, his eyes narrowed, taking in every detail. Then, where is she now? Reese's sharp eyes darted around, searching for any sign, any clue, a dropped earring, a torn piece of fabric, anything that would tell him what had happened here, what had taken his mate from him. He moved with a sense of desperate purpose, sniffing the air again, trying to isolate her scent, to cling to that fading trace of her presence. But the deeper he went into the warehouse, the more the scent dissipated, until it was nothing more than a phantom, a cruel reminder of what he had lost. Something was wrong, terribly wrong. She's not here, Noah said, his voice laced with frustration. He knew Reese as well as he knew himself. He knew the bond they shared, the connection that was as tangible as a physical link. He could feel Reese's pain as if it were his own. The mate bond, usually a source of comfort and strength, was now a searing brand, pulling at him, screaming for him to find her, to bring her back. He reached out with his mind, trying to connect with the mark he had placed on Trinity, the symbol of their bond. He focused, closing his eyes, envisioning her in his mind. Her vibrant smile, her sparkling eyes, the way her hair fell across her shoulders. But there was nothing. No images, no feelings, no connection. It was as if she had vanished from the face of the earth. His stomach twisted into a knot of dread. He knew what it meant. They masked her scent, he muttered, his voice dark and dangerous. Someone covered their tracks. Noah stiffened, his eyes narrowing. Warlocks? Reese's jaw clenched so tight his muscles ached. It made a sickening kind of sense. A wave of pure, unadulterated rage surged through him, so intense it threatened to consume him. Damn it! He slammed his fist against the nearest metal beam, the impact reverberating through the building, a testament to the raw power contained within him. The sound echoed the frustration and fear that were tearing him apart. Noah placed a hand on his shoulder, his touch firm but gentle. Reese, we'll find her, he said, his voice low and reassuring. We just need another lead. A sudden noise, a faint rustling sound echoed from the far end of the warehouse. Reese and Noah both snapped to attention, their senses on high alert. Reese's instincts flared and he moved without hesitation, sprinting toward the sound, his movements fluid and silent. He turned a corner expecting to find an attacker, a clue, anything that would shed light on Trinity's disappearance. Instead, a stray cat bolted past him, its eyes reflecting the dim light, its sudden appearance shattering the tension. Rhys exhaled sharply, the breath escaping him in a rush of disappointment and frustration. It was a false alarm, a cruel trick of the night. "It's a dead end," Noah said, shaking his head. Rhys refused to accept that. He wouldn't. His mate was out there somewhere, alone, possibly hurt, and he was wasting precious time chasing shadows and empty leads. He stormed back to the entrance of the warehouse, pulling out his phone and dialing Vincent, his PAX beta. The moment Vincent answered, Rhys barked, "Any updates?" Vincent's tone was grim, confirming Rhys's worst fears. "Nothing yet. The patrols haven't picked up her scent anywhere else." Rhys clenched his jaw, his teeth grinding together. "Then they took her far from here," he said, his voice tight with barely suppressed anger. "Probably teleported." Noah's voice was tight with concern. "What now?" Rhys didn't hesitate. He knew what he had to do. "We keep looking," he said, his voice firm, brooking no argument. "Someone had to see something. There's always a trail, even if it's hidden, even if it's faint. We just have to find the right person, the right clue, the right thread to lead us to it." He wouldn't rest. He wouldn't sleep. He wouldn't stop until he had Trinity back in his arms, safe and sound. Even if he had to tear the entire world apart to find her, he would do it. He would stop at nothing. Will Rhys find her before it's too late? What do her captives really want? Is Rhys responsible for her plight? How long will Trinity survive? And what about the past life visuals she is having? Is there any truth to them?
Hey, I am Trinity. Want to know what happens next? Then click the link in the description below and download the Pocket FM app and listen to the exciting episodes of Chosen by Fate, Rejected by the Alpha.
Driven by his wolf and Trinity's fading scent, Rhys tracked her to an abandoned warehouse. Inside, her scent vanished, confirming his fear. Warlocks had masked it. His mate Bond offered no connection. Rhys vowed to find her. But with her scent gone and warlocks involved, where could she be? Will Rhys find her before it's too late? Where are the warlocks hiding her? Is Trinity still having those visuals? Rhys's patience, never a particularly abundant resource, had dwindled to almost nothing. The past 24 hours had been a torturous cycle of hope and despair. Every lead, every whisper, every fleeting glimpse of possibility had turned to dust in his hands. Trinity was still out there, somewhere in the vast expanse of the world, and he was no closer to finding her than he had been when he stood outside the abandoned warehouse. Noah sat across from him in the dimly lit bar, the cheap, sticky tabletop reflecting the flickering neon sign outside. Their latest informant, a shifty-eyed man with a nervous twitch, had just slunk away, his pockets lined with Rhys's money, his information amounting to nothing more than vague rumors and dead ends. The bartender, a burly man with a permanent scowl, eyed them warily from behind the counter, clearly aware that they were trouble, that they radiated an aura of barely contained violence, but too afraid to say anything, too afraid to risk their wrath. "We need something solid," Noah said, his voice laced with exhaustion and frustration. He ran a hand through his hair, his fingers tangling in the dark strands. "We can't keep chasing ghosts, Rhys. We're running in circles." Rhys exhaled sharply, the sound a harsh rasp in the quiet bar. Just as despair threatened to engulf him, his phone buzzed. He grabbed it instantly, his heart leaping with a surge of adrenaline. It was Vincent. "Alpha," Vincent's voice crackled through the line. "We got a tip. Someone saw a woman matching Trinity's description at a rundown motel outside Denver. She was with a man." Rhys was already on his feet, his chair scraping against the floor. "Denver?" he growled, his voice low and dangerous. "Give me the address." "It's called the Blue Moon Motel," Vincent replied. "It's about an hour outside the city." "We're on our way," Rhys said, his voice clipped, his mind already racing. He hung up the phone, grabbing his jacket. "Let's go." The drive to Denver was a blur of flashing lights and speeding cars. Rhys gripped the steering wheel so tightly his knuckles turned white. His jaw clenched so hard his teeth ached. Every second that ticked by felt like an eternity, a precious moment lost, a moment that could be the difference between finding Trinity and losing her forever. When they finally arrived at the Blue Moon Motel, the place reeked of cheap liquor, stale cigarette smoke, and despair. The neon sign outside flickered weakly, casting an eerie glow on the dilapidated building. Reese and Noah stepped inside, the bell above the door jingling a discordant tune. The receptionist, a nervous-looking woman in her 40s with tired eyes and a stained uniform, shrank under Reese's piercing gaze. He leaned across the counter, his voice low and menacing. "A woman with blue eyes and dark hair," he growled, his voice leaving no room for argument. "She was here. Where is she?" The woman swallowed hard, her eyes darting around nervously. She nodded, her hand trembling as she reached for the register. She was here. She left a few hours ago with a man." Reese's heart pounded in his chest, a mixture of hope and dread. Headed where? The receptionist hesitated, glancing at a crumpled piece of paper on the counter. South. They were headed south. Reese's blood ran cold. Did she seem hurt? Did she say anything? Anything at all? The receptionist hesitated again, her gaze flickering away. She looked tense, like she didn't want to be there, but she wasn't fighting him either. Reese's mind raced. Was Trinity playing along, trying to buy time? Was she being threatened, forced to cooperate? The possibilities were endless, and all of them were terrifying. "Did you hear where they were going?" Noah pressed, his voice calm but firm. The woman shook her head. "No, but the man, he had an accent, something Eastern European." Reese's heart sank. Caleb, one of their most ruthless enemies, had ties to mercenaries from that region. If he was involved, if he had taken Trinity, she was in even more danger than he had feared. He turned on his heel, storming toward the car. "We keep moving," he said, his voice hard. "If they're heading south, we'll find them. We'll track them down, no matter where they go." But as they sped down the highway, the miles blurring past them, an unsettling feeling crept over Reese. Something about this lead felt off, too easy, too convenient. It was as if someone wanted them to follow this trail, wanted them to waste their time chasing shadows. And then, an hour later, they hit their next dead end. The trail vanished, as if it had never existed. The motel in Denver was a lie, a carefully crafted illusion designed to send them on a wild goose chase. Trinity was still missing. Someone was toying with him, leading him on a wild goose chase. But why? Who was behind it, and what did they want? Was it just a distraction, or something worse? Trinity was out there, slipping further away. He had to find her. But how? And what if he was too late? What if he found her, changed, gone?
Hey, I am Trinity. Want to know what happens next? Then click the link in the description below and download the Pocket FM app and listen to the exciting episodes of Chosen by Fate, Rejected by the Alpha.